What is going on, guys? This is Joe Young coming at you another video today. Today I'm going to give you guys an update on the progress currently for the week on the racks, and probably a little bit of an update on what's going to come up in the next couple weeks here. So today was a very busy day, and also throughout the week for just the progress in the builds, and also just trying to figure out what to do with a lot of stuff. Today was a really busy day. Today was maintenance day, my normal water change days for all the tanks. So I had to do all the water changes then. And then midway in the water changes, I noticed that the water heater wasn't like really hot, or wasn't really like burning. So I checked it, and the pilot flames weren't lit, so my water heater died. So I had to troubleshoot that for about an hour and a half. Finally figured out that one of the lines on the gas was kind of clogged, so I cleaned it up, put everything back together, and it worked. So I didn't have to pay for anybody, didn't have to buy any parts, so that is a plus. So let's jump right into the rack update. So let's start with the blue rack. The blue rack is the Reef tank. And last week I added dry Fuji rocks into the tank to start cycling the tank. And it's been about a week now, and it's still doing cycling. I haven't tested in the water. For salt water, I'm probably going to test on the third or fourth week, and that's when the ammonia levels are like really high, just from all like the dead debris, detritus from the rocks leaching into the water. So yeah, it's going to take 3 weeks or so, and I probably won't test anything until then. So while I'm waiting for the tank to cycle, I did this on my other Reef tank, my 33-gallon Planet tank. On about the second week or so, I started adding pods to kind of jumpstart the pod population. And this is like anthropods, cocopods, just random pods into the Reef system, so it can kind of get established, because eventually once you add livestock, they'll eat them and they'll die off. But if you get enough pods populated initially, they'll reproduce and they'll stay alive. So for me, I buy pods from two different sources. The first source is from Algae Barn. They're a great source for pods. I bought two of the little pods that has like a mixture of different types of pods. So the first one I dumped in was kind of their mixture bag of everything, and the second one was kind of a brine shrimp mix. Once I add the pods, I definitely have to feed these guys with some sort of food source, because the tank is kind of bare right now. There's nothing in it, so I got to make sure I feed them while algae and stuff gets growing in the rocks and whatnot, so they can feed off of that. The other source of pods are anthropods and just cocopods, and I believe it's from aquariumdepot.com. They have really great prices on these guys. They send you like a bunch, but I bought basically 500 pods for this Reef system. I bought another 500 for the 33-gallon because those are starting to run out of pods. I do have a few of those, but they're like in the filter system. But every time I clean the filter, I kind of like wash a lot of them away. So I wanted to reestablish those guys in that system as well. So on top of adding the pods to the Reef system, I also set up all the lights, LEDs on there. I was debating between going with 2 Radions or just one. I decided to go with 1 Radion. It's the XR30 Pro Gen 4 version, so it's the newest and the greatest LED. I did test run this on my 33-gallon Planet Reef tank for about a month or so, and I noticed really great results in terms of the growth of the plants, and also on a few of the frags and corals that I had, they did really great. And also I was able to use only 30% of the energy on there, so I definitely really like that LED. So I ended up using that for that blue rack system, and I couldn't justify spending another additional 4 of those LEDs to do 2 per tank, because so right there is some shadowing at the edge of the tanks, because it's a 4-foot long tank, and the LED is only able to lit a 3-foot tank unless you have it really elevated on there. I just have it on the actual stand that they have, so it's not really super high in terms of elevation, so it does have some dark areas on the edges. And to compensate that, I actually am going to kind of escape around that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the dry rocks that I added in the tank already. I'm going to eventually move a couple of those on top and put them on the edges, because you need live rocks in your reef tanks to kind of help with the cycling process anyways, with beneficial bacteria and whatnot. So I'm going to have them at the edge of the tank where the lights don't hit, and those would just be rocks. So it'll be kind of like a little mini cave kind of thing like this. I think it'll be pretty cool. So that's pretty much it for the blue rack right now. I'm going to let the guy cycle, I'm going to let the guy run. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my protein skimmer that I had, kind of just a used one that I had in one of my tanks that I just ended up pulling. It's a smaller one, it's not anything for the big system, but I'm going to go ahead and put that in there because I want to skim out all the organics and whatnot that was kind of floating in the tank. And the tank was kind of dirty initially when I started it, and I want to pull all that out. I'm going to probably dump in a good bag or so of just carbon to remove anything that's just nasty in that aquarium setup for about the next 2 weeks. And then I'm going to go ahead and test the water, and hopefully it gets cycled. And once it's cycled, I can start adding livestock and corals into the tank. And we can get kind of rolling, and plants eventually as well, so that we can get that rolling. So moving on to the green rack. The green rack is going to be my freshwater setup, and this is going to be a planet setup for the most part. I do have another plan for one of the tanks, and you'll kind of see it here in the footage, but I left one of them kind of bare bottom, kind of similar to the blue rack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep some of the breeding plecos in this rack here, and it'll just be bare bottom, and the rest of them will be planet, and it'll be easier to clean for them anyways. But I finally got the rack up and running. I was able to find the Vector L1 pump used online. I got a steal for it, basically half off from retail, and it's basically brand new. It works just fine. So what I did this week was I grabbed all the parts that I was kind of waiting for to put together. Was basically the UV sterilizer, using the hose to plumb it to the pump, and then basically to the actual system. So I spent a majority of the day filling up the rack again, because I did a water test a couple weeks ago. Decided to drain it so I can fill up the rack with substrate. That took me about a couple hours to actually do for the substrate. I did this a couple days ago, but so I pretty much did a 2-tier substrate. One on the bottom, just kind of a filler, and then the second one is ADA substrate, so that I don't have to use as much ADA soil. So I did basically 2 bags of ADA for each one, and then 2 bags of the bottom substrates for each of the tanks. And for the most part, I got the height that I want. I don't want it too deep, because the tank height is already only 10 inches, and if I go any deeper, it's just going to eat up into the fish's swimming area, and I really don't want that. So did that, filled that up, and filled up the tank, and finally was able to start running water through all the plumbing to make sure that there's no leak. And this time around I had 3 leaks, and they were really minor. One was from the gaskets on one of the overflow boxes. Just had to tighten it, not too bad. The other leak came from the UV sterilizer, the barb fitting with the tape that I had in there. I didn't tighten down the barb far enough, so I went ahead and tightened that down, and then that solved the issue there. The other one was one of the unions that I had was kind of loose because I was kind of moving pipes around, and I forgot to tighten it, and quickly fixed that. So far so good. No leaks. I'm gonna have to run the system for a couple days, double check everything to make sure there's no leaks. But pretty much if there's no leaks, I'm gonna continue letting this tank run and cycle. The ADA soil will leach ammonia, so again, this is probably gonna be 3 to 4 weeks in the system again to actually cycle. So while the tank is cycling there, I went ahead and dumped a couple of extra Chem matrix in some of my other tanks to kind of establish some bacteria on that, so I could quickly drop some of that into the tank to help cycle a little bit faster. It's probably going to speed it up maybe another week or so, but I'm waiting for the bacteria to establish there, and also I'm going to use some of those for my quarantine tank. So initially I had 4 quarantine tanks, 10 gallons, on the rack up top here, and wanted to plumb it so that I can just do a quick water change with a valve So I had to drill the tanks. It's my first time drilling. Haven't drilled any tanks before, and oh my goodness, it was terrible. So first tank, I cracked it. Yeah, just cracked it. The second tank was good. The third tank cracked. Fourth tank was good. And so as I was plumbing everything together, I kind of over tightened, I guess, one of the gaskets, and it cracked the tank. So I was down to one tank that was drilled good. Broke 3 of them, and decided to go to Petco to get another one because I really only needed 1 freshwater and 1 saltwater. I was like, you know what? I just need 2 tanks set up perfectly fine, and I can roll with it, because I won't need to quarantine that much because I can quarantine probably a few of them in the other tanks for freshwater, and probably can just use both of those for saltwater or something like that. Went out, bought another tank from Petco, started drilling, and I did really slow, and I cracked that one as well. So I don't think I'm gonna get another one and drill it. If anything, I'll get another one, just leave it as is to see if I even need it. I don't think I'll need it, just because, like I said, it's only going to be quarantine, and for the most part, if the fish looks good, I'm going to put them into the new tank. The new system is going to be just brand new anyways. Definitely failed 4 times, and as a learning, I guess, opportunity there. But for whatever reason, when I was drilling, I never applied, I guess, even pressure. I noticed that the tank kind of wobbled a lot, even though I had it on like a mat and on like a flat surface. But anyways, super fail, and I'll probably won't drill any more tanks after that. But it was a good attempt. All right, so future plans. Future plans for the tanks. I kind of have some livestock ideas for the Reef tank, and I'm gonna wait a couple weeks to kind of finalize it, because I'm still up in the air right now, just to figure out like if that's really what I want to do. But I do have a couple ideas on that. But what's really exciting is the Reef, the Planet Reef inside the house right now, the 33-gallon that you guys currently see throughout the year so far. I'm going to pull a lot of the plants out of that tank and put them outside, right? And I'm going to rescape it so it looks a lot nicer instead of like a little bit farm. I'm going to have the farm outside in the garage. But I'm going to make it a little bit nicer, and I'm going to change up the scape a little bit on the tank, and change up some of the livestock. So I'm going to move some of that livestock that I have in the 33-gallon outside, and probably put a little something new in that tank. So stay tuned for that, because that one's going to be really interesting. So next week, what I'm going to probably plan on doing is start planting some of the Reef tank with some plants, because you can actually establish plants while the tank is cycling. If I get 1 more light, or actually 2 more lights, I will start planting the freshwater rack as well, as long as I can get the CO2 going there. I bought some parts to kind of hook it up to do an inline CO2 for the green rack, but I have to wait for that to come in. So until I can get that in, I won't be able to plant any plants there yet. And I'm still waiting for lights. I bought 1 light just to see what it was. It was between Kesso and the Radion XR15's freshwater version for the Planet tanks. Decided to go with the Radions, but what I did was I bought a couple Kessos, and I threw them on there. And the Kesso kind of like leaned forward a little bit, and I didn't like that. And then also I couldn't get them on the bottom rack because it was too short, I guess. So I had to return those. I'm waiting for the refund to go through for those, so I can buy the Radions for that system. But yeah, so next week should be another exciting week for the rack updates. If I have anything else that's interesting, or any livestock that's actually coming in, I'll update you guys on that as well. But if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you guys hit the bell button to get notification. But until next time, guys, peace.